Oh, it's better. Well, I was starving. I'll save the rest of those for later. There's only 3 of them altogether, so I'm saving 2 for later, not like a bunch of them. I didn't buy a dozen or anything. Just so you know. I don't know why it's important to me to tell you that. For some reason it is. The drive-in might not be so bad. Truck's not having any trouble. All right. I like going in though every once in a while. They usually have like super clean restrooms. It's a funky little curve in their driveway there that's, I don't know what the point of that is. It's not good to just decide which way to go home. I think I'll cut back. See, towards Maysville, but not clear into Maysville, maybe. I mean, it could just go down the turnpike or the interstate a mile and then cut over the back way into Elmore City. Let me do that. We've done that quite a bit, so I don't even have to get on the turnpike. I can go. Well, if I can decide what these other people are going to do, I guess I can decide what I want to do. Okay, now I can go. Now I can go around the back way and stay off the interstate. I'd rather. You know me and interstates. They're kind of like a necessary evil occasionally, but I don't like them at all. And now that I don't have to run on interstates, I don't, you know. I don't have any interest in them. Walmart. Their diesel's $4.78. So they're more in line with Marlow price there. Still not, well, it might be a little better than Marlow's price. So I'm just cutting through town the back way, kind of running south parallel to the interstate. And then I'll cross over the interstate down here in about a mile or so. And then we'll cut across country over to Elmore City, the Elmore City area. Can't decide if that guy was flashing his lights at me or if every time he moved his lights were blinking out funny. I mean, I don't see any cops sitting up here running traffic or anything, so it makes me wonder. Trying to listen to my motor. Thought I was hearing kind of a ticking noise, but I think I'm dreaming. I'm hallucinating. Not really. There's no reason for me to do that. None whatsoever. Probably hearing my sick air conditioner fan ticking is probably what I was hearing. Now I'm hearing it whine since I turned it up a hair. Love's on the interstate, 548 for diesel. There are big truck stops like this have been annoying to me for years. The little local ones we have in Marlow actually have the best price in town. And you get a discount off of their posted price when you've got a Love's card, which I do. But the ones on the interstate gouge about a buck a gallon is roughly the average of what they gouge. 50 cents to a buck, typically. And it's, I guess I understand why they do it, because they can, and because they're located in a high big truck spot, where they get all the big rigs. And big rigs are like a captive audience for all of these big truck stops, because they can't just go any which old where to get fuel. They have to fuel at a truck stop, because your average gas station isn't set up to accommodate a semi-truck with a trailer on it. So because of that, and because trucks typically overnight at a truck stop when they can get a parking place, they are pretty much a captive audience, so they charge a premium for the convenience to the truck driver of having their fuel right there. or being able to get in and maneuver around easily in the parking lot. You know, as a truck driver, you pay for that convenience, but still, is that worth 50 cents or $1 more a gallon? I don't know. And then the other question is, well, how many of these truck drivers drive for companies that have a special deal with Love's where they're not paying the pump price? So maybe they're only paying, you know, maybe they're paying 50 to 75 cents or $1 less a gallon because they arranged something. They have some kind of a deal with them. So it's just the independents, basically, who don't have the collective power that a big company would have for, like, you know, I've got 1,000 trucks. What'll you do me on fuel? As opposed to, well, this is my one truck, you know, and they're like, well, we're just going to skin you alive because you only have one truck, so it's not worth us to give you a discount. So, you know, kind of one of those deals. But I'm sure they still get the card discount. But even with that, that's 15 cents a gallon for diesel, so that doesn't make up for the hiked up price on the interstate either. It helps a little, but it doesn't compensate for it. It doesn't even things out. So it's kind of an interesting deal with truck stops and interstates and such. And I've spent years complaining about them. The whole time I knew all this stuff, you know, pretty much. It just annoys me that they're the way they are, which may or may not be fair. I don't know. But that's how it is. So I've taken you over this road a few times. This is the back way over to Elmore City from Pauls Valley. And it's pretty much 45-mile-an-hour speed limit this whole stretch. Clear over to Highway 29. But it's kind of a nice cutoff because you get clear away from the interstate and the interstate traffic and the big trucks. You won't see any big trucks on this road. See some people driving and texting, though, weaving over into the other person's lane. So unless you get somebody on your butt going through here who's intent on speeding, it's pretty mellow. Pretty nice little drive through here. And it's kind of twisty, turny through the countryside and up down hills. I'm not sure what this little community is. Beatty, maybe? Beatty Baptist Church? I guess it's Beatty. Never really paid any attention to that before, and I've been through here, I don't know, 100 times. This is a shortcut that Bill actually used a lot, and he showed it to me. Just a nice little country road, cutting across the countryside. So now that Big Hen's gone, and I've opened up the whole west end of the coop and the run for Peeps, I need to go in there and cut out a piece of fencing I put in to attach a gate to keep him separate from her. I already removed the gate. And I need to store that probably in the greenhouse where it'll stay dry until I decide I need it for something else. And then get that other piece of fencing down. I'll probably do that in the morning when it's cool. I kind of had today already planned out. I was going to work on my jigsaw puzzle channel, which I had a puzzle almost done. I just had to put another 20 or 30 minutes into it to finish it. So I got that done, and then I thought, well, I better go get fuel, and I better go haul my trash. And then it occurred to me that I just wanted to go for a ride because I hadn't done this for so long. Now, I'm glad I did because I'm feeling better. I don't know if anybody is going to understand it when I say this, but every once in a while I get just antsy to go somewhere, unsettled, and it bothers me, and I get tired of being in the same place. I just want to see something different, my eyes need a little different scenery or something. But this is, in my mind, this is what my mom used to call fiddle feet. And she always said that her family had fiddle feet. They never could stay in one place very long, and they were always moving around. And unfortunately, I've inherited this probably from them. I don't know if it's unfortunate or not, but it's something that it's like a physical feeling of being almost trapped and just really wanting to get out and go see something different and just get away. And I don't have to go very far to cure this, but if I just get out and do a little drive around like I did today with this little loop, then that seems to satisfy, kind of, it's a scratch for the itch. At least for a while, till I get the next wave of fiddle feet that will come over me, and it will. So I'm thinking about, at some point, I'd kind of like to go back up toward Bixby, which is in kind of in central Oklahoma. It's not too far from here. It's a couple hours up there, I think, or maybe an hour and a half up, and then, but it's one of the few places close to me that rocks of any kind can actually be found and collected. And aside from maybe Rose Rocks up by Norman or Noble. But Bill and I went up there once, or we might have gone twice. I think we might have gone twice. But anyway, we went up there and collected up a bunch of what they call Bixby agates. I think it's Bixby. I better be right about this. This whole thing's going to not make any sense. They're not really agates, but they're interesting rocks. I'm not sure what they are, except maybe some kind of a conglomerate rock. And they're interesting because there's a couple of different kinds of them. And I think I may want to go back up there and just poke around in the bar ditches a little bit and see if I can find some more of them. I've still got quite a few of them out on the front porch, and I think I've got some in a little bucket. What I started doing is I started polishing them. Well, at some point, Bill evicted me and my rock polishing from the house because it was too noisy. It was driving him crazy. So it got evicted out to the barn, and then he kind of put the kibosh on that in the barn because he started piling stuff up on the table I was using to put my rock polishing stuff up on. And he kind of effectively crowded me out to where I couldn't really polish any rocks for the last few years. And he wasn't doing it to be mean. He was just moving stuff around, you know. And it just seemed like an expendable area, I guess, because I wasn't actively using it that day when he started moving stuff or whatever, you know. But since we cleaned out the barn, I know where all my rock stuff is. And I mean, if I want to, I can bring that back in the house now because it's not going to bother anybody. It may bother the dogs and the cats, but it's not going to bother me. And they never complained about it before, so I don't think it's really going to bother them. I mean, it's just like background noise. I was thinking about that, about bringing those polishers back in and setting them back up in the laundry room like I originally had them, and maybe start polishing some rocks again. I think I will. So if I do that and I get through these ones I've got already, get them polished up, if they're kind of nice like the first batch. I did one batch a long time ago. But if these are as nice as those were, I may go back up there and see about finding some more. I don't know. But it would be something to do. It would be something fun to do. Well, I don't know how fun. I may have to get somebody to go with me, so it would be more fun. I'm okay going metal detecting by myself because, you know, you're listening to your machine and all that. It's not like real conducive to discussion or conversation, unless you just don't wear the headphones and then you just go together and just for fun. But if you're seriously rock hunting, you can still carry on a conversation. And so that's more of a thing that I like doing. Me and Bill like doing that together because, you know, we can still converse and have fun, but still be, you know, getting a little exercise and having an activity that we enjoyed together. So he liked finding the rocks. He just didn't care about polishing them. But anyway. But I may have to see if his sister wants to run up there with me sometime this summer. She's off work in the summer. So I may see if she wants to go with me. She may or may not. She's so busy going to kids' events that it's very rare that she has any spare time at all. And her grandkids are all getting older now. A couple of them have gone on to college. A couple of them are grown. And then a couple of them are still pretty young, and one of them plays sports. So she never misses a game, whatever the sport is, you know, for whatever sports they're in. She'll go to all of them. So she stays really busy that way, but I might be able to grab her one day in between sports seasons or something and get her to go with me. She's actually fun to go do stuff with. I like her a lot. Yeah, she's... That's something I'm thinking about. I may run up there by myself. I don't know. It just seems to me like it's more fun if there's somebody else with you. Anyway. So that's one of the things about not living around my family that irks me, because all the stuff I like to do, they like to do too. So if I want somebody to go, you know, rock hunting with or whatever, metal detecting, whatever, they're always game. But... But I guess if I really like doing something, I'll do it whether I got company to do it with or not, probably. Probably more or less. Every town I go through, I see some place that Bill worked. He had a lot of customers. There's a church back there. He did a lot of work for them. He covered a lot of ground. He had a pretty big service area. I tell you, I was relieved to get his truck sold. It took a long time to sell that thing. It took me like 7 or 8 months, I think, to get it sold, which didn't surprise me because it's a very specialized kind of vehicle. But I was really glad. I was glad and sad the day that it went away, you know. I was glad it sold, and I was kind of glad I wasn't going to have to look at it anymore because, you know, every time I looked at it, what would it make me think of? Bill, you know, who was not there. That kind of thing. You know, I got a whole barn full of stuff like that, which... circling back around to the original topic of, well, I don't even know if I talked about that, the estate sale thing. I've been talking so long I can't remember what I talked about and what I haven't. So this is Highway 29. That little town that we just came through is Elmore City. And we're heading straight for Marlow from here. And this is a squinchy little skinny road all the way to Bray, which is a few miles down here. Quite a few. And it's also a relatively fast road. Speed limit up here is 65, and I don't like driving it, but I often do if there's other traffic out here because I don't want to be slowing people down on it. Oh, Casey's bought them out too. Boo. Boo. I don't know what y'all think about Casey's convenience stores. But evidently they bought this place out, which used to be an independent gas station, truck stop. And they put a brand new Casey's right in Marlow. And of all the convenience stores that could come to town, that would be my last choice. I don't like Casey's. And I don't like them for a couple of reasons. They're not competitive on their fuel prices. They charge as high or higher than anybody else in town, you know. And I guess they have to because they keep buying places out and building new places, so they're probably up to their earballs their ears or their eyeballs in debt. Their earballs. Oh shoot! But you can't get a good deal on fuel at their stores because they charge higher than everybody else in town. And as far as like their convenience store, they're not on the top of my list because their selection is not great. I had severe problems trying to find anything to drink at a Casey's when I would have to stop at them, like up in Kansas when I was pulling doubles or something, and I could get in the parking lot, so I would stop there, but I'd go in to get coffee. They didn't really have coffee. They had the fake machines that put out instant coffee and charge you like Starbucks prices for it. And then they had like a pitiful selection of soft drinks, and that was it. That was pretty much it. Just not much selection. So I was never very impressed with them. You know, they were like a cut rate 7-Eleven in a way. It's like 7-Eleven without all the spice. It's just like bland, blah, just the basics. And I just was not impressed with them at all. Well, evidently they're the up and coming convenience store brand, kind of like Love's was 20 years ago, or other various brands, or like 7-Eleven 40 years ago. I guess that's where we're at. So I'm not impressed. I'm likewise not impressed with the selection of drinks at, and this is going to offend some people, at Buc-ee's down in Texas. The big drawback for me to Buc-ee's was their coffee sucked. They don't have good coffee. They got everything else you can think of. They got great snacks, and they've got barbecue and all that, but their coffee sucks. But they make up for that with the great selection of foodstuffs in the store, snacks. And of course the barbecue, if you want a little brisket or something, if you get there when the barbecue place is open, you can get a little brisket. They're massive bathrooms, that are like palaces, palatial-sized bathrooms, and like 100 pumps outside to get your fuel. If you're not pulling a trailer, if you're pulling a trailer or you're in a bigger truck, you don't want to go there. But if you just got a truck and car or truck, then Buc-ee's is a cool place. But it's the same beef I have with Casey's as far as drinks. They just don't have good coffee. I guess it's just not a priority. A lot of these companies don't care. They don't make money on coffee, so they don't put money into coffee. They have kind of cheesy machines that mix up instant coffee that's usually hideous tasting, or they brew coffee, but they don't brew good coffee, and then they put it in one of those crafts that keeps it hot for however long. And I think that's what Buc-ee's does. So, of the two, I'd rather go to a Buc-ee's overall, but they're just as bad as Casey's for a lack of stuff that's fit for a coffee drinker to consume. So I guess if you like just drinking soda, then they're fine. But I'm not big on that. I don't like drinking it. There's another rig out there. That's 3 rigs I've seen today. Oil rigs, I mean. I wonder where he got himself an exit sign. He must have been somewhere right after the wind went through or something. Picked himself up an exit sign that blew down. That's funny. Sorry about all this yawning. It's mid-afternoon, and that's my traditional yawning time. Especially if I'm driving for some reason. I guess I should drive like I mean it here. I'm just poking along. But there's very, very little to no traffic today, which is nice. I had a load of lumber on there. That reminds me, I've got some boards out in the yard I need to go pick up and put in the barn. I moved them out of the way, and they've been sitting out there all winter. Well, all spring. They haven't been sitting out all winter. But I need to pick them up and go put them in the barn before they get rained on some more, and they just get ruined. It's just a little bit of leftover stuff from when I did the deck. There's a couple of posts and some 2x material, things like that, but I do need to get them up off the ground and put them away before they just start rotting. I've got them up on blocks. It's not like they're laying right in the dirt, but I think they got blown over the other night too. Some of them are actually laying in the dirt. So that's something I need to do in the morning. I'm not going to do it today. It's too hot right now. It's 86 degrees out there, and with the humidity we got, that probably feels like 96. So I'll wait and do it when it's cool in the morning. That's something I definitely need to do. Every time I see this Doyle Community Church, I think of my great-great-grandpa who lived in Doyle, which I think Doyle was actually not located in this exact spot, but I think it was a little bit south of here, because I think they actually built the Lake Fuquay Dam where Doyle used to be. That may or may not be accurate. I don't know. But every time I see it, I think of him because, well, he didn't live in Doyle. He lived in Pearl, which was just over here a little ways. And it was kind of like a sister community or whatever, but it's just a little settlement. It just makes me think of that. The stuff you find out when you're doing genealogical research, I mean, a lot of it's kind of interesting, and a lot of it's just like all these little loose ends. You can't really tie it to anything in particular, but it's things that you remember. You know, you tend to remember now and then. So it's actually not the Doyle Church. I'm thinking of the Pearl Baptist Church instead of the Doyle one. So I'm losing my mind. I don't even remember what I think I remember, or what I think reminds me of stuff. I'm losing it. What have we got going on out here, I wonder? I wonder. Work zone. Kind of work zone. Road work next 6 miles. I wonder if they're going to go ahead and widen this out like they did up to the east side of Bray a few years ago. They need to. I wish they would. I mean, it would make it really messy getting through here for a while, but it would be nice to have wide shoulders on this skinny, squinchy little road. I hope that's what this is about. I hope it's like the second phase of that super single in this whole highway. It'd be nice if they do that all the way to I-35, because this is a pretty dangerous road. Skinny, very small shoulders, a lot of truck traffic. And it's probably nothing of the sort that they're actually doing. I don't know, I haven't heard what they're doing out here. Have not heard. But 6 miles would just about put it to the end of the new road up by Bray, I think. It seems about right. I'm actually glad that this is toned down to 55 miles an hour, because it's too skinny of a road for 65, in my opinion. Oh, it has been. The other thing about this road is it's rutted from all the oil field, like the tank trucks running it. Those things are heavy. And they've actually rutted this road to where it's kind of a rough ride. Yep, that's what it looks like they're doing. They're clearing that side of it. When they enlarged it over between Marlow and Bray, they cleared the north side of the road for, I think they took 80 feet of that right away off the north side of the road. And they did it, this exact process is what they did over there. So that's what they're doing here. That's great. I'm glad to see it. That will make this drive a lot more pleasant and a lot safer. A lot. You'll see the difference between the new road and the old road right up here ways when we get past where they finished with the first segment of that, the first part of the project. So I don't know how many years are in between phases, but I'll bet it's been 10 years probably since they did the first phase. They were working on that. I can't remember if they were still working on it when we moved to the farm. I think they were. I think they were still working on it. So maybe it's been 7 or 8 years since they finished the first phase. But I'm so glad to see them working on this. That's great. That's awesome. That's what they're doing. Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. That's some funny looking machinery they got there. Those big crawlers. Man, I should go get my metal detector and go back metal detect that corner, because there used to be a gas station there way back when, a little store. And they've got all that asphalt up out of there. It's just down to dirt, but I bet I'd get in trouble for doing it in a construction zone. So what I may do is I may sneak back in here on the weekend, because I don't think they're going to work every day. I don't think they did on the last segment of it. I may sneak out here this weekend, and if they're not actively working out here, I may metal detect that corner. I wish I had done that with a couple other places where I knew there were gas stations before, and I didn't do it until it was way too late. Me and Bill came out. There's one up here on the left, and we came out and detected it, but by then it had all the earthwork was done, and they'd, done all the grading and all that. But that back there was raw. They had just pulled up the asphalt, and that would be the time to do it. So I may find me a little bit of silver out there. I'm going to do it. Even if I just come back after work hours, if I come back at 6 in the evening and work that corner a little bit, I might be able to find something and not get run off by the construction guys. That's the only problem with the construction zone. You don't want to get in their way when they're working, rightfully so. They will run you off because it's dangerous for you to be out there in their way. But if they're not actively working, then it's just in the highway right away, and there's no reason you can't be out there. As long as you're not, you're not trespassing on anything and you're not obstructing anybody's work. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I've got to do my research and figure out how late these guys work and if they work weekends. So I'm going to be back out here checking on that. I don't have any really good, promising places to go metal detect that haven't just been detected to death as it is. I mean, I could always go to City Park, but I also don't want to wear that out. I kind of like to leave that alone for a while, just so the city doesn't start getting the idea that they don't want people in there messing with it. And there aren't too many people around who do this kind of thing here. The only time I've really ever seen any other metal detectors in Marlow, there are a couple of guys up from Wichita Falls who have a metal detector shop, and they had a friend up here was letting them metal detect their yard in an old house that had been there since 1901, I think. And then in the city park, like the day after the big 4th of July celebration, I've seen other people out running their metal detectors then, thinking, there was a big herd of people here, we might find something. Sometimes you do, but I found more old stuff in the park, in certain parts of it that aren't all that affected by their 4th of July thing. It's just like, I'm sure there is still old silver in that park, but it's infrequent enough that people get discouraged and don't keep looking for it, or they just never get their coil over it and never find it in the first place, or don't even realize it's there. So that's a really promising, good spot, not very far from home. I'm going to come back out and check into that. I'm going to do it. The kids were talking about, not Mother's Day. They came down Mother's Day and had a good visit, but I think a couple weeks before that they came down and we were talking about metal detect, and I was like, I've got these machines, we might as well go out and use them, get everybody out to have some fun with them. And so if that pans out, I may get them down to go detect that with me. It'd be awesome if they could find something old. If they could really find a piece of old silver or something, that would be great. That's how hobbies get passed on to other people. You take them out and show them how to do it, and then they find something really cool, and then they're hooked. And then it's something they enjoy. And metal detecting is something you can do forever. I mean, as long as you can walk and swing a coil and dig a little bit, and you can do that hobby. And if you can't, and if you're with somebody who can, you can at least swing the coil and find stuff, and then have a dedicated digger to dig it up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. That's pretty exciting. But I got to get in there soon, because they're going to get in there with those big machines and just tear the hell out of that. And then it'll be done. It won't even be worth messing with. So I need to do that this weekend if I can. Either in the evenings this week, or that and this weekend. So I just have to figure out when they quit working and go home. I'm kind of excited about that. So I keep my stuff charged up and ready to go. I just haven't had any place to take it for the last, Well, I haven't been really metal detecting for 8 or 9 years, because I quit. I was going every day the summer before we moved into the house, before we started working on the house. And then I tried to get it out of my system, because I knew once we started working on the house, I was going to be tied up with that for a long time. And I was. So me and my brother Wes worked on the house for months. So, and then not too long after that, Dad died, and then Bill got sick, and so I just never have really gone back out to metal detecting since then. And that was 2017, I want to say. So it's been almost, it's been 9 years since I've actually gone out and gone metal detecting with any frequency. I'm trying to think. I think I went somewhere. Where'd I go? Seems like I took the metal detector out once, not too awful long ago. What did I do? Was I just thinking? I might have just been thinking about it. Maybe I didn't actually do it. Maybe I was just thinking about going back over to the lake or going to the park or something. But I really got to jump on that. I gotta check that out. The main part of that is to get in there before they tear up anything else, and do it while they're not working on it. So that's my 2 objectives that I'm going to have to figure out. So this is what they're doing to that road. They're going to make it like this with the super wide shoulders. This road is so much nicer. And they put turn lanes at every intersection. So, you're not just sitting in the traffic lane waiting for somebody to rear end you in the dark. It's so much better than it used to be. Huge improvement. So I'm excited that they're doing that. Even if I don't get to metal detect anything extra, even if I didn't, I'd still be excited about them fixing this road some more. they may have to do this like over the next 30 or 40 years even. I don't know. I'm sure it's pretty expensive to do what they're doing to it. And it takes a long time. It took them, I think, maybe 3 years to get this segment of it done. I want to say it was at least 2 years, but it might have been 3. It was under construction for a long time. That's got me really thinking now. Plotting and scheming. I haven't been that motivated to do something for a long time. I'm gonna have to get out there and do it. I may run back out there tonight, like after 5, just to check on it. If they're not there, I can always hop out and detect it real quick. Or, maybe not detect it real quick, but get started detecting it. That's one of those places I'd like to detect a lot and really go over it like with a fine-tooth comb, because as long as that was a store and all that, you would think there would be a good chance of there being some good stuff there. And by good stuff, I mean like, Indian head pennies, silver dimes, maybe if I'm really lucky, a silver quarter or a $50, stuff like that, That's what I mean by good stuff. So I watched this guy over in Scotland. He's a Scottish detectorist, and you can find him on YouTube. And I'm so envious, it makes me sick every time I watch, but I can't quit watching because he finds the neatest stuff. And I've learned a whole lot about old British money watching him too. I had no idea before about most of it. I didn't know. And now I've got a really good grasp of it, because instead of just digging stuff and, hey, it's a penny and sticking it in his pouch, he tells the whole story behind it and shows you which king it is or queen. The whole thing. He goes into all the history behind it too. So it's really interesting to watch. But the whole time I'm just like jealous as hell, because they dig up stuff that's, thousands of years old, like Bronze Age axes, Celtic jewelry, Roman coins. And the stuff we've got here, we're lucky if we dig up something that's 100 years old in this country, because this part of the country hasn't been settled that long. And it's just, I wish I could go over there and metal detect. Maybe one day, if I ever get to the point where I don't have critters that I've got to be home to take care of or whatever, and I've got enough money to do it. Oh, there goes Roadrunner. If I never swing that might be something I would like to do, but then I'd have to have somebody there who would take me out on their permissions with them, and who knew all the rules, so I wouldn't inadvertently do something stupid and get myself thrown in, you know, British jail for breaking some metal detecting rule, because I've got a lot of rules, you know. But it would be interesting to find something that old. So here the odds of finding something old are going to be 100 years or less. The oldest thing I've ever found is that silver dollar that I found at the lake, that I still to this day think Bill planted for me to find, but he never would admit to it. He took that to his grave. He took that secret to his grave. That if he did, it was a sweet thing to do. And if he didn't, I guess I legitimately found a silver dollar that's 1879. That's the oldest coin I've ever found. And I think it would be a real kick to go over to England, to Scotland, and dig up something that's, you know, like a coin from the first century, a Roman coin from the first century, or even you know, like a 1,200-year-old hammered coin, or a 700-year-old hammered coin, or, you know, whatever. These old things that they dig up over there, because the history is so much. It's been settled a lot longer there than it has here. That's the truth. That's a fact. So I'm going to check and see if my package got delivered yet. Nope. I'm supposed to get a drain snake for the kitchen sink that'll actually fit down through the strainer on the sink. I've got a slow drain in my kitchen, so I'd like to get it opened up. But I don't have anything small enough to go down there and snake it out with, so hopefully that'll get here today. I'm going to leave the gate open with that in mind. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed the little trip around. And I'm going to try and get out and do more Woman at the Wheel videos, because I like being out and going and doing something every once in a while. It'd be nice if I get back on the schedule of doing one a week, I think, you know, minimum. But, well, that would probably be my maximum, too, with everything else I've got to do. So anyway, thanks for riding along with me. And I hope you enjoyed some of the nice Oklahoma scenery. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. So thank you, guys. Have a good one. Bye.